Here in stage 1, we're going to create our 3D logo text. Let's take a look at a few of the tools and also some of the interface we'll be exploring here in stage 1. We'll start by creating the text, and we'll use the tool from our creation menu, our text tool. We'll then take our text and we'll learn how we can modify our text from our channel box menu and also our attribute editor. Once we have text created in our 3D environment, we'll learn the hotkeys to be able to navigate and orbit around a 3D environment. We'll then create the eye, and we'll also learn how we can create symbols such as the heart we have here on the screen. And we'll then learn our transformation tool hotkeys. That way we'll be able to move objects, rotate objects, and scale objects in a 3D environment. So we'll learn several tools over this first stage that will help us to complete this logo, and we'll learn the proper workflow to creating 3D text in Autodesk Maya. So our first step will be creating our 3D logo text. Now the tools that we'll need for this will be found in our main menu, and logically would be in our creation menu, and we'll also be using our viewport panel, our perspective view, to see exactly what we created. So let's create some text. We'll come up to the creation menu, we'll come down to text, and we want to modify the settings of our tool. We can modify any setting of any tool by using this option setting box to the right of a tool. Now, if this is not the first time you've opened this tool, it would be good to reset the settings if it's not at the defaults. If this is the first time you're opening this, this is what the default settings should look like. Now here we can enter whatever text we'd like for our logo. Now I'm going to create the text I love 3D, and I'm going to stack I love on top of 3D. So any text that we'd like to stack, we can create as separate elements. So I'll just start by creating the text 3D, and then we'll create the eye and the heart symbol in a moment. Now next, you can see that we don't have a lot of settings with this option toolbox. The next setting would be selecting a font. So here you can feel free to be creative and select any font that you'd like. I'm going to select a modern looking font. I'll use Arial Black. Now a little tip here, when selecting a font that works well with 3D logos, select a nice bold font and try and avoid any cursive text. Cursive text may have issues and require more advanced editing to be able to output the 3D geometry. So we'll start with just some simple text in this example. Then for the size of your logo, around 12 is a good default size for the default scale of our scene. But feel free to explore different sizes and see how that looks on the default grid within Maya. So here I have my text font selected, the size selected, so I'll hit OK. And the last thing I have to decide is what type of geometry I'm going to output. By default, it's going to output a two-dimensional curve, but we can actually save a few steps by directly outputting to a bevel, which is 3D polygon geometry and even has a nice beveled cornered edge. Now, this does open a few more options and settings, but we're not going to explore these right here because really these settings, we don't understand what they would mean. We're going to modify these after we create the text, and we'll get a very visual display of what these settings do. So let's hit Create. That will create the text and close the options window. So at this point, we successfully created 3D text. So now it's your turn to complete this step. So just a recap of what we did, we took a look at our main menu, we went to the creation menu, and we went down to text and selected the option settings. Here we modified some of the settings to create our logo font, then we hit Create to output our 3D geometry. So pause this video, create your 3D logo, and then we'll resume.